Hello again, I'm Greg Anderson. So there you are, sitting at home watching the governor on TV during this pandemic. And maybe you're talking back to the TV. Yes, governor, that's exactly what I think. Or, governor, that doesn't make any sense at all. What's it like to be in the same room with the governor asking questions that you want to ask? Well, that's exactly what my guest does every single day. As we continue to explore the pandemic's impact on our lives, let's look into the world of the Boston news media with WBUR's senior reporter and anchor, Steve Brown. That's today's takeaway. I am really happy to have this gentleman here, Steve Brown. Steve is the senior reporter and anchor for WBUR in Boston. Steve, thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, you are sitting as we speak in some coveted real estate up on Beacon Hill. I just can't remember the name of the building. What is it?
The House of State. No, the State House.
Yes.
The State.
So you're in the WBUR office.
Yeah, we have a little office here. As you can see, it's not much. This is where I come every day to report on what's going on in state government.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about how your what you do, how you do what you do, as well as the impact of COVID. And there's so many questions I have for you. My pages are long and lengthy, but I do have to say you're a Yarmouth guy. You're a Cape Cod born and raised.
I grew up in Yarmouth. I moved to Yarmouth just before my 10th birthday, and was a graduate of DY, class of 1979. Go Dolphins!
Yeah,
this show's in Sandwich, isn't it?
Yeah, YouTube will take us down there.
Okay, good. Anyway, and so there's a lot of Cape Cod in my blood. I basically was connected to it until my mom passed away a couple of years ago. She lived in Yarmouth, and the house that I grew up in was bittersweet last year to have to let that go and everything. So I'm not getting back down there. Got a lot of friends on the Cape, and looking forward to getting back down there and seeing them again.
Yeah, beautiful. You and I first met, though it feels like I've known you forever. We first met in the TV newsroom at Channel 4. We were both writers and producers there, and of course we also both went to Emerson. Though I think you graduated in 43, was it? Or
just around the time they had invented electricity. So.
No, it's Emerson.
It's 82 and 83. So.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So I came along about I started at Emerson in 87, graduated in 91. So tell me what a senior reporter and your beat at the State House. Tell me what you do.
Okay. Basically, I'm the State House reporter. I come here every day, which is something I actually started doing back when I was at Emerson College. I used to come up here. That's how I got to know this building and kind of understand the rhythm of the legislature and the governor and how it all works together and everything. I ran a little stringer service out of the State House back in the early 80s. And so here I am back again. Instead of the young, eager, ready to do anything kid, I'm literally the old graybeard here in the building. So, again, I come in, I follow what the legislature's doing, what the governor's doing. The way this whole building and everything to do with state politics, everything is built on relationships. You have to build relationships to get things done. If you're a lobbyist trying to get a bill passed or something like that, you have to build relationship. And that goes for reporters too. You got to build relationships with people in the building. You see them around, you talk with them, you shoot the breeze, and they start telling you things, what's going on. So you can start amassing all this information that's going on in the building. And I liken it to, picking up lots of little scraps of paper, and no one piece makes a whole lot of sense. But then you start putting them together and you see what's going on, and then you can report on it.
Yeah, interesting. So in the early '80s, when you were at Emerson and you were and you were a stringer, is
Right.
what you were calling. That's where you are sitting in the State House and you are feeding news stories to multiple radio stations.
That's right. Back then, in the early '80s, uh, every radio station in the country had to reapply for their license every 3 years. Yeah, every 3 years,
Mhm.
and they had to prove that they were serving the public good, the public interest, in a way that a local station, be it down on the Cape or out in Western Massachusetts, or the way you would do that is you would provide local news coverage. This was before the internet, before you could go on and read what's going on and
Yeah.
on Facebook and things like that. So local radio stations, in order to compile all this stuff, these are the things that we've done in the past 3 years to serve the public interest. News was one of them. So they all were trying to compete with each other, because usually in most medium-sized markets, there were five to seven radio stations on the Cape back then. Out in
Yeah.
Western Mass, Worcester, Southeastern Massachusetts, North Shore, and of course in Boston. You would have you'd want to compete with the other guys. So
Yeah.
one way you would do it is, hey, let's get a State House reporter. So they pay me like $20 a week, some ridiculous amount of money, and I'd be there. "Yeah, I'll file the stories, anything there." So if the budget was coming out, what I would do, I'd chase down the local rep from my client station. So, "Well, the budget's coming out, and here's what Representative Smith has to say about that and how it affects the Cape."
Wow.
And we never had a Representative Smith, I think, from the Cape,
Yeah. Well,
but
exactly.
I
Don't
just
let the facts get in the way of a good story.
okay. Just want to clarify that.
Right.
But,
Right.
but that's how I would do it. And basically, you write the same story, but with a different reaction for each area, what the local rep was saying, or local senator, and that's how I personalized it for all my client stations,
Yeah.
all over the state.
When we look, Steve, at the State House right now, if you were to walk out that door and walk the halls and go where you're able to go, and I'm interested in access that the media has, how is it different right now? Are the state reps walking around?
Here, you know what? Since this is TV,
Okay.
you asked.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind me doing this.
No, this is perfect.
All right, let's go out in the halls. You can hear the echo.
Yes.
So, here we are in the halls of the State House.
And what floor are you on?
I am on the fourth floor.
Okay.
All right, this is looking behind me down to the East Wing, which is down where the Senate offices are down there.
Okay.
And then, here's getting blown out by the sunlight down there. But as you can see, and you just go down these stairs right here. The governor's office is at the bottom of those stairs. So
are all of the media in that same area with you?
yeah. And again, I can't stray too far because I don't want to lose my Wi-Fi. But
Yeah.
right now, you can see there's a couple of doors behind me here. The State House News Service, and then the press room, and another press room there. So we're all kind of along here.
Yeah.
And, this is
And it seems quiet.
very, very quiet. The legislature has been meeting, some of it has been meeting remotely. A lot of times what they have is what they call informal sessions, where basically it's stuff that is non-controversial, that they can just say, okay, we're going to pass this. If there's no objection, it passes. So there's no debate. There's nothing like that.
Yeah. When you are around there, what access? You just said that the governor is one floor down from you. What access do you have to the governor himself or lieutenant governor?
Yeah, they have various events during the day. Sometimes they're in their office all day. Sometimes they're out of the building.
Could you walk down to the governor's office and say, Can I get 5 minutes? I just want to ask a couple questions.
Yeah,
Or
they're not too keen on
yeah,
that.
you can, but it's
You
not.
can.
Yeah,
Well, one of the tricks we do a lot, look at the schedule. If he may be at an event, they'll have a lot of things up here. We're going to proclaim it, Health Day or
yeah,
something,
yeah,
and it's all the different advocates come up and stuff like that. If there's something else going on, and not just me, but all the reporters go, hey, we got to get the governor on a totally different topic. We
yeah.
all show up at this thing. We stand in the back of the room. Sometimes we'll take notes, and then afterwards, hope to grab him in a scrum. And where that scrum is where all the reporters gather around. Sometimes I call it a gaggle, and we go thrust our microphones in front of him
Yeah.
and ask the questions and try to get some responses.
At the press conferences that the governor has been holding pretty much daily.
Yeah, up until this week.
Okay. How, tell me how those have been. Where are they held? Who gets
Sure.
to be in there? I know you got a coveted seat right up in the front.
I do. I sit in the same seat every time. The governor joked that they were going to put a plaque there after this is all over.
Yeah, right.
I might hold him to that.
Right.
But no, it's interesting. I'll tell you a little bit on that. Directly below me, as I say, I'm on the fourth floor. Down on the first floor, directly below our office, is room 157, which is the governor's press conference room. Charlie Baker doesn't use it all that often. If he has a statement to make or something like that, he'll usually hold it in his outer office down on the third floor. I think I don't know what the rationale for not doing it down in 157. When the beginning of March, when there's obviously concerns coming that the coronavirus was coming, and steps had to be taken and that they were keeping an eye on it, he would hold his daily or briefing a couple of times a week down in 157. All the TV stations would come, so you'd have 5, 6 TV cameras. All the reporters would be there. Several reporters from the State House News Service would be there. The room would be packed, and different staff members from the governor's office, they would be in there. So you have maybe 50 people in this room that's maybe 25 by 25 foot
Wow.
in size, so not huge, and we were kind of jammed in there.
Yeah.
So mid-March, they started, okay, we're only going to have pool TV. So basically, for those that don't know, pool, if it's not pool, channels 4, 5, 7, 10, New England Cable, Channel 25, all would send a camera. If it's not pool, everybody would shoot the speech or the press conference or whatever, and then you would have it. You'd roll on what you wanted to roll. That would be your copy. The TV reporters would go back, cut it up. For the pool, what they do is they say, okay, every day we're going to designate, and the TV stations kind of work it out. Channel 7 is going to be the pool today. So only Channel 7's photographer goes with a camera. So that means the other 5 to 6 cameras aren't in the room. So it reduces the number. So they started doing that in 157. And they moved all the seats further apart. And it was still somewhat crowded. So mid-March, they relocated us all down to Gardner Auditorium, which is the largest hearing room in the building. It's down the sub-basement of the East Wing. And there's a sign outside, capacity 600 people. There aren't 600 seats, but you can fit 600 people in there and not break the fire code. So they set up there. So right now there's a podium down there. They've got black curtains behind with the flags in front, and still with a pool camera. The radio stations can come in and plug into the mult box. I have my cables plugged into the mult box, and a mult box is a device that the audio goes into that, and then all the TV stations, anybody that wants audio plugs into that. It's
Yeah.
as in multiple. You can plug in and get your audio feed. So I have cables run from the back of the room to my seat, where someday there'll be a plaque, according to the governor.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
And so, that's where it is. So we all go down there. There are roughly about 10 reporters, one each from most of the TV stations, couple of newspaper reporters, another one or two other radio reporters, and we've kind of become a core group where we know each other and kind of know where each other sits.
Do the reporters from television stations and radio stations, are they typically the same ones?
Yeah, it's been pretty much the same people for the TV station, unless somebody has a day off.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but again, it's kind of the core group, and the governor will come out. Usually there's a theme for each one of these. It might be about the economy and, plans of restarting. It might be about health and trends and things like that. Might be about, nursing homes and hospitals and things like that, the height of the surge and those type of things. He can go on maybe 20 minutes to a half an hour on the theme. He'll have Mary Lou Sutters may speak, the Health and Human Services Secretary. He may have the Lieutenant Governor come up and take a part of it. If it's something to do with education, you might have the DESE Commissioner Riley come in and talk about that. And then it's open to questions and answers. And that can range anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes.
So when you ask the governor a question and he says, I don't have an answer to that, Steve, I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
How do they get back to you?
Usually their press people will follow up with, whatever it is. And, usually it's something that might just stump them a little bit. And, I don't blame him. He's, there's a lot of moving parts going on. Yeah. And sometimes we ask real detailed little things that he may not have top of mind, or might be something that's moving. But yeah, actually, he'll take a crack at most everything. You don't hear him say that a whole lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes, what he'll do is he'll defer. Like right now, we're going through the reopening thing.
Right.
And Karen Polito, the Lieutenant Governor, chaired that. So if there's something dealing with that, he may turn to her and go, "Why don't you take this?"
Right.
And she'll get in and try to answer it as much. But yeah, if it is, gee, we don't know, we'll get back to you. Usually you wind up getting an email or a call or something clarifying it.
I'm interested in your take. You have covered Massachusetts governors going back to Dukakis, I believe.
Actually, yeah, Ed King.
Ed King.
Ed King. I didn't cover Dukakis 1. I covered Dukakis 2 and 3.
Yeah. There you go. What is each governor has their own tempo, their own vibe with the media. How do you describe our governor now? What's the relationship like between the governor and the media?
I think he has his favorites. You can tell. Sometimes he's exasperated by us because we're the only ones in the building that aren't really under his control. Yeah, the legislature is independent and what have you, but everybody plays nice and what have you. We're there asking tough questions. We're putting them on the spot.
Yeah.
And, sometimes, and I saw this with Deval Patrick too, to a certain extent, kind of like, how dare you ask me that? I'm the governor. Well, it's our job. We got to make sure you're doing your job.
Yeah, exactly. When the governor did roll out, and the administration rolled out the four phase reopen, there was criticism of it's not detailed enough. You're saying it's coming, but what does that mean? As a reporter, how were you hearing that that lack of specificity, and how do you think the media handled that?
Well, you keep working your sources, finding out what's going on, knowing that it's a rough draft that they're working on. And I was hearing that a lot of things where you're not having that specificity or anything is because the final things hadn't been decided yet.
Hmm.
And the debate was going on internally right up to the very last minute. I know that that was a case when they decided to close schools for the rest of the year. I was hearing that internally there was disagreement exactly how we're going to do it. So, they would prefer to keep everything under wraps until they decide.
Yeah.
One of the things going through the whole pandemic, going back to the beginning of March, is every briefing that was coming down, I would get a call from either an editor or somebody at the station that, hey, I heard, or my sources who would also, it, sources is a two-way street. I'll tell my sources what I've heard, and then they tell me what they know too, and
Yeah.
kind of it's a give and take.
Yeah.
So we'll get I'll get a call, hey, I'm hearing the governor is going to close all the schools tomorrow. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a rumor. Eventually, I found that these rumors would come up, particularly when you're anticipating businesses to be closed, you're anticipating a major action, that this rumor would percolate up every day. And nope, not today. No. And
Yeah.
the feeling was that, eventually somebody was going to keep saying it. And one day they were going to be right.
Right, right. Do you think that we see the governor, we see Lieutenant Governor, we see, Sutter, we see all of these people in the press conferences. They're polished, they're ready, they're messaged, they know what they're going to be saying. They probably can anticipate what you guys are going to be asking them about. But before they came out and after they leave, do you think this is a frenetic environment? Is it we disagree, but a lot of moving parts, you said. How do you, knowing these players as you do, how do you think they are kind of making these decisions and talking these things through?
Yeah, probably on Zoom like you and I are right now. That's physically how a
Yeah.
lot of this is going on. Just like anything else, there are different aspects of everything. You have business owners, you have healthcare professionals, you have all the, and sometimes their goals are kind of at odds with each other.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of internal weighing and trying to find that, really they're trying to thread the needle, and just a one,
Yeah.
try to do once, and it's not easy. I
Yeah.
think they have to hear from everybody, and everybody's got to make their best case, and then they kind of go with the
Yeah.
best information they have.
Yeah. In the interest of the press conferences, we watch the president
Mhm.
in his sumo wrestling with the media experiences.
Right.
Um, we all know what they look like, and politics aside, some people see, hey, that's cool, that's the way he is, and others say, whoa, wrong message, wrong time, and a little bit of both. Regardless of that, as a journalist, when you're watching these reporters get hammered, appropriately or not, but they get hammered by him, what is your take as a journalist, as a guy thinking, geez, if I were sitting in there, how would I respond? What's your take on all that?
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into the politics of it. It's mostly all style. Beating up on the media is nothing new. That's an old thing, and sometimes it's deserved. But I think for the most part, we're all just doing our jobs. It's our job. It's our job. It's not our job to suck up to people.
Yeah.
It's our job to tease things out, find the full story and explain it. Um, my job, I've always felt as a reporter, is not necessarily to interpret, well, what the governor means, what he's trying to do. It's like, this is what he's doing, and then let the listeners and the readers decide for themselves with other, you could read opinion pieces and stuff like that. I don't publish opinion. This is
Right.
what he said, this is what he's trying to do. But as far as beating up on the media, yeah, it's been going on for a long time. It will continue to go on.
Did you ever find yourself at the other end of that frustration from an elected official?
No, I can't say I have.
Yeah. You're a polite man.
I try, the thing is, we're all human, and polite is the right word for it right there. And I agree with, we're all humans, and we need to approach it like, okay, hey, how are you today? Did you have a nice weekend? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Hey, boom, and then get to the tough question. I find it a little bit of a style thing. It will soften people up a little bit and get talking, and that's why you talk about the weather and the
Right.
back when there was sports, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You get talking about that, they get talking, they feel comfortable, and then boom,
Yeah.
you bring it up, and they'll be a little more honest with you because they've already built that trust.
Yeah. Steve, you mentioned in the press conferences, there's social distancing protocols, but tell me how social distancing in this pandemic has impacted your day-to-day duties. What does the newsroom look like at BUR? How has all that changed?
Right. Well, the newsroom has been closed. The radio station has been closed off physically to the entire staff, with the exception of what we call the at-bat team, which was people that actually have to be, the technician that actually has to press the buttons to make the show work. There's no place else that they can be, so they are in the building. But right now at WBUR, there's probably 4 people in the whole building.
What?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do you explain that to me? How does everything?
Everybody's working from home. Most everything, and I think a lot of businesses are finding this now. Obviously, if you're working in manufacturing and stuff like that, you can't work from home.
Yeah.
But our underwriting department, all our different departments, and even we found that the news department, we can all work from home. I have. You got a second? I can just step away from this for a minute.
Yeah.
I have a laptop.
I love these walking tours.
I'll tell you, I should have dragged this out beforehand, but I'll just have this here.
You've got, is it your equipment?
It's part of it. This is a Comrex.
Okay.
And it's a fairly expensive piece of equipment. It has a battery. There's a couple of other, there's a thing that it's almost like an antenna that plugs into the back here. And it connects with Wi-Fi. And the Wi-Fi it's almost like a cell phone. So it's like 2 cell phones attached to this. And what it does is it sends back almost studio quality audio. So I use this when I go down to the governor's press conferences. I have 2 cables that run to my seat. One is just to my recorder. So I record it locally. I have it on that little floppy card there, or whatever you call them, the SDI card.
Yeah.
So I have that. I can bring that sound into my computer, cut it up, however we're gonna use it. But this, I have it plugged in, and it feeds that sound back to the newsroom. And if we're carrying it live, that's what we're taking the governor's.
It's coming right through that box.
Coming through this box. Now, this, if I go home and I file my reports from home, I do a live thing where I'm talking to, if I'm talking to Bob Oakes in the morning, I would fire this up, sit at my dining room table or kitchen table, or wherever, set it all up, do my report. Now, I just mentioned Bob Oakes, who hosts Morning Edition. For the last 3 weeks, I think, he's been hosting Morning Edition from his house.
Wow.
Because he has something along these lines, a little more well, it's like the one I have here again.
Yeah.
This walking tour here.
Yeah. Yeah.
This gizmo right here
Yeah.
is called a Road Warrior, and it's attached to this fancy microphone here, and I can go live, and I can do anything here that I would be able to do in the studio.
No kidding.
In essence, I could anchor, not that I have, but
Yeah.
I could anchor right from here from the office.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's why the radio station only has a handful of people.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Steve. I know you to be an exceptional journalist, and having worked with you, I enjoyed watching you work. You have covered Sandy Hook. You have covered the Boston bombings, marathon bombings. Those are events that were jarring on so many levels.
Sure.
This pandemic is kind of a slow burn, but equally as dramatic and painful for so many. Take off your journalist name badge or your pork pie hat, or not pork pie, whatever the journalists were in the 30s. How have you responded to this as a father, as a son, as a husband? How have you been handling all of this? Because you can't escape the news.
Right. You know, I'm watching it constantly, reading it constantly, even when I'm not on the clock. Yeah, you know, you're obviously concerned. Both my girls are, well, my youngest is graduating virtually from UMass Lowell next week. It should have been this past Saturday was her original commencement day. So it's dealing with that and the emotions that go along with, you know, I'm not going to be able to have a final concert with my a cappella group, my daughter, you know, things like that, and having to deal with that as a parent. And, you know, I don't have the answer. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's no escaping it. Trying to stay healthy, you know, you have the mask, which I have over there. You know, you don't want to get it because, you know, you're sidelined. You might get sick. You might make somebody else sick, and things like that. Wound up, you know, purchasing a boom pole, so when we go back to doing live interviews, which we can't do right now, they won't let us. You know, it can still do it and stand 6-8 feet away from somebody. But you know, emotionally, you know, there are times that you know, you come home at night and you go, ah!
Yeah. Well, many of us, I remember my wife saying this to me back in late March. I was watching the TV and I was getting angry. I was getting angry at things I couldn't control. Like, are you kidding me? People are going to be losing their jobs, and you know, the sickness and and she said, you know, Greg, I think you need to curtail a little bit of the news watching because it's starting to really rev you up. And it makes me think of people like you. You can't. This is your job.
Yeah. Well, what you have to do is you have to set aside things that you can do that will let you decompress.
Yeah.
You know, I'm fortunate. I've had, and I just got it back. Long story short, I've got a 1961 Cadillac convertible.
Yes, you do.
That I've had since I was 14. Interesting story, but we're running out of time.
Yeah.
But the thing is, right now, it's a convertible. On these nice weekend days, I drop the top and my wife and I go driving around. And it's just refreshing. It's nice. We'll go and we'll social distance with people. We'll go park in their driveway and we'll talk to them on their street, and what have you. And so that's just, I'm having a blast doing that. And you have to consciously make time, whether it be go for a walk or just, you know, turn on the TV and watch insipid sitcoms from the 1970s, which I've been doing.
Yeah.
Just, you know, do that just to make that time and go, tuning out the rest of the world.
To get a break.
I'm watching Green Acres, okay?
Yeah.
Leave me.
Yeah. Actually, we've been doing Cheers.
Okay.
Cheers is fantastic. You're right. We're running out of time, but I did want to ask you, in your bio, you have it references that you have toured, I think 16, but now there are only 15 prisons, the correctional institutions, the facilities. How did you get interested in that? And then let me ask you this question as well. How do you feel about the prisons releasing prisoners given the COVID dynamic?
As far as how I got interested, 1985, I was doing a story on a cabinet secretary that was getting sent away to prison. And I thought, we do this thing reporting on people getting sent away to prison, but we never looked to see where they went. Now, this was a much more open time, 1985. I called up the Department of Corrections and said, hey, I want to come down and do a story on Walpole, because Walpole was at the time, Cedar Junction was the main maximum security prison at the time. And so I went down, saw it, got the tour, met inmates, met staff, and what have you. It's fascinating. I won't go into the whole thing, but it's a microcosm of society, and it's really eye-opening. Never went back. I went, a few houses of correction and what have you over the years, but it was probably like 2011, 2012. I was talking to the press person for public safety and said, I need to get back to tour and see the prisons. It's been a long time. And I felt as a reporter, we have an opportunity that the general public doesn't have, is we can say, hey, we want to go see this. And oftentimes, not always, they'll let us. It's an obligation. So I found out that Department of Corrections for many years would put out a press release. Here are our media days at all our places. Each facility would have a media day where reporters could sign up for it and go on the tour. So I said to my boss, we should do these. So over the span of about 3 years, I was able to hit all of them. Now they've since stopped doing the media tours, but I felt they are offering it to us. We would be abdicating our responsibility if we didn't accept their invitation.
Yeah.
And go on the tour. So I went on the tour. I think as far as your question of letting people out, I think it really needs to be done on a case-by-case basis. Some people cannot be let out. Some people probably, it would be better off if they were. If it's going to make the prison itself safer by reducing the number of people there, make the not only the inmates but the staff that works there safer. That's a good thing, but it has to be done on a case-by-case basis. Going with nonviolent people, and prison isn't just a place. It's a state of mind where your freedom is taken away from your own mind. You have no control over anything.
Yeah.
You put somebody on a bracelet or something like that and say you can't go. You can stay home, which we're all doing now. I guess we all have bracelets.
Yeah, we all have bracelets.
But it's something that if it makes it safer, there's got to be, like anything, you got to find that balance. Some people say, oh, people just want to just open up the jails and let everybody out. That's probably not a good idea, but it's probably not a good idea to keep everybody for every infraction locked up.
Yeah. Let me wrap up on this question. And being a New Englander, growing up in New England, I grew up in Hanover, New Hampshire, and you and I both started out as young guys in these small markets, and then grew up. You and I were very fortunate to grow up watching and even working with many people like Jack Williams and Liz Walker and Chet Curtis, John Henning. I mean, Tom Ellis, who lived a couple streets away from me. And then on radio, we had the Gary LaPierres, we had Dave Maynard, we had Charles Laquadero, we had all of these.
Rod Fritz.
Rod Fritz. He's on. I wrote his name down. Rod Fritz. Poor guy. Poor guy. Rod. He's just a funny
He's a
guy.
fine American.
Yes, a fine American. Exactly. But there was a style of journalism, of entertainment, of broadcasting, and even Howard Stern kind of penetrated that and then found its place. How you working in Boston media, how does it feel to you being on the inside? What does it look like knowing you knew what it looked like back
Sure.
in the day?
Yeah. I think back in the day, I mean, I got into this business first as a disc jockey at WCOD in Hyannis. You know, that was my entree into the business. And then my parents said, disc jockey, that you don't have, and I said, well, how about if I do news, if I'm a journalist? Well, okay, that's better. So that's how I kind of shifted over into that. And I've got a lot of great DJ friends and everything, and I think the world of them. But that was the shift. Again, I got interested in it because I liked being on the radio, and doing journalism was a way to do it. So it was being on the radio first, journalism second.
Yeah.
Now I'm seeing most of my colleagues, it's the journalism first, and then the presentation and what have you is coming along second. Both, you can do both. There's no right way or wrong way of that. It's just how people have come to it.
Yeah, yeah. Steve, I could talk to you all day long, and maybe I'll come over to your pool and I'll bring my swimmy raft.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have some beers on the water, if you will. But I trust everyone in your family is safe and healthy. And
Yeah, for the most part, waiting for my daughter's COVID test to come back. But hey, that's the new normal.
Yeah, I know. Steve, it has truly been a pleasure, and I appreciate you coming in and giving us that inside look. I wish you well. Keep doing the great job that you're doing, and I will see you soon.
I hope to see you, and maybe in person.
Yes, hopefully in person. Just 6 feet apart. 6 feet apart.
Yeah. I've got a tape measure here in the drawer.
Exactly.
Oh, you think I'm kidding?
Oh my God, you really do.
I really do. I have it right here.
Mr. Governor, we got to go a little further. All right, Steve, thank you. Have a great day.
Greg, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, bye-bye. It is such a pleasure to have had this opportunity to talk and learn a little bit about the Boston news media. Thank you, Steve Brown, for joining me. And of course, I want to give a big thank you to everybody at Sandwich Community Television. From their homes, they are editing and they are mixing sound, and they're just doing a fantastic job taking these programs and bringing them to your house. So Rob, Tyke, Alex, and of course, Paula Johnson, who is the executive producer for basically running that whole shop and doing a fantastic job. We're trying to get information out to you and make it fun and interesting. And I look forward to doing it again with you soon. I'm Greg Anderson. See you next time.